the Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 2, Chapter 6. And this morning we're doing text 23. And we're very fortunate to have Her Grace Gita Devi Dasi, Gita Mataji from ISKCON Atlanta to give a class. Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept the humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, and it's all yours. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtikhi. Text number 23. Yadasya nabhayannalinad aham asam mahatmanaha navidam yagna sambharan purushavyavanarite. Yada, at the time of, asya, his, nabhayat, from the abdomen, nalinad, from the lotus flower, aham, myself, asam, took my birth, maha atmanaha, of the great person, na avidam, did not know, yagna, sacrificial, sambharan, ingredients, purusha, of the Lord, avyayavan, personal bodily limbs, rite, except. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
When I was born from the abdominal lotus flower of the Lord, or Mahavishnu, the great person, I had no ingredients for sacrificial performances except the bodily limbs of the great personality of Godhead. Purport. Lord Brahma, the creator of the cosmic manifestation, is known as Swayambhu, or one who is born without father and mother. The general process is that a living creature is born out of the sex combination of the male father and the female mother. But Brahma, the first born living being, is born out of the abdominal lotus flower of the Mahavishnu, plenary expansion of Lord Krishna. The abdominal lotus flower is part of the Lord's bodily limbs, and Brahma is born out of the lotus flower. Therefore, Lord Brahma is also a part of the Lord's body. Brahma, after his appearance in the gigantic hollow of the universe, saw darkness and nothing else. He felt perplexity, and from his heart he was inspired by the Lord to undergo austerity, thereby acquiring the ingredients for sacrificial performances. But there was nothing besides the two of them, namely the personality of Mahavishnu and Brahma himself, born of the bodily part of the Lord. For sacrificial performances, many ingredients were in need, especially animals. The animal sacrifice is never meant for killing the animal, but for achieving the successful result of the sacrifice. The animal offered in the sacrificial fire is, so to speak, destroyed, but the next moment it is given a new life by dint of the Vedic hymns chanted by the expert priest. When such an expert priest is not available, the animal sacrifice in the fire of the sacrificial altar is forbidden. Thus, Brahma created even the sacrificial ingredients out of the bodily limbs of the Garbhodakshai Vishnu, which means that the cosmic order was created by Brahma himself. Also, nothing is created out of nothing, but everything is created from the person of the Lord. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 8, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mataha sarvam pravartate. Everything is made from my bodily limbs, and I am therefore the original source of all creations. The impersonalists argue that there is no use in worshipping the Lord when everything is nothing but the Lord Himself. The personalist, however, worships the Lord out of a great sense of gratitude, utilizing the ingredients born out of the bodily limbs of the Lord. The fruits and flowers are available from the body of the earth, and yet Mother Earth is worshipped by the sensible devotee with ingredients born from the earth. Similarly, Mother Ganges is worshipped by the water of the Ganges, and yet the worshipper enjoys the result of such worship. Worship of the Lord is also performed by the ingredients born from the bodily limbs of the Lord, and yet the worshipper, who is himself a part of the Lord, achieves the result of devotional service to the Lord. While the impersonalist wrongly concludes that he is the Lord himself, the personalist, out of a great gratitude, worships the Lord in devotional service, knowing perfectly well that nothing is different from the Lord. The devotee therefore endeavors to apply everything in the service of the Lord because he knows that everything is a property of the Lord and that no one can claim anything as one's own. This perfect conception of oneness helps the worshipper in being engaged in his loving service, whereas the impersonalist, being falsely puffed up, remains a non devotee forever without being recognized by the Lord. Om Jnana Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Translation once again. When I was born from the abdominal lotus flower of the Lord or Mahavishnu, the great person, I had no ingredients for sacrificial performances except the bodily limbs of the great personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna to everyone.
Hare Krishna.
So here we get a reference from the scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the essence of all the Vedic literature, that Brahma is born from Mahavishnu, and he is not the original creator or God. It is Krishna who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada has given very nice explanation of this verse in his purport, where he says that Brahma is known as Swayambhu, which means he is born without a father and mother. And he's the firstborn living being. How? Because he was the first living entity that was born out of the abdominal lotus flower of Mahavishnu. Who is that? Mahavishnu is the plenary expansion of Lord Krishna. So because Brahma is born out of the body of the Lord, he is considered part of the Lord's body also. Now in the Bhagavad Gita we have heard Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Krishna says all living entities are my parts. So Brahma also is part of Krishna. We are born out of the combination of mother and father. When the mother and father come together, then we get a material body, we are born. But that is not the case with Brahma. Brahma just appeared from the lotus flower that was coming out of the navel of the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. That's where he appeared. Now, after Lord Brahma was born, he was perplexed because he couldn't see anything. There was just him and the Supreme Lord, and there was darkness around. So because Krishna is situated in everyone's heart as Paramatma, as Super Soul, Brahma got inspired from his heart. And the inspiration he got was to perform austerity. Now the Supreme Lord, as Paramatma within the heart, guides the living entities. Many times we want to do some things and we say, oh, something from my heart, within my heart is saying, don't do it. Who is that someone? That is the super soul. So inspired by the super soul, Lord Brahma, he wanted to perform sacrifice. See, unfortunately, even though Paramatma is within our heart, do we listen to him? That's a big question, right? Do we listen? Do we take his guidance? That's very, very important to understand. So now Brahma wanted to perform sacrifice, but there were no ingredients available. It was just him and the Supreme Lord. So he was wondering what should he do now. So what he did, he used the limbs of Supreme Lord to perform the sacrifice. Now he understood that I have appeared from the body of the Lord, and He is the one who will provide what is needed. The same is with us also, right? Krishna provides us everything that we need for our devotional service. We just need a sincere desire to serve Him, to worship Him. You see? So sometimes we may get what we need, and sometimes we may get what we don't need. So the question is, why do we get what we don't need? So that the Lord can teach us that whatever we are getting, we don't need it, so we don't need to ask for it. You see, sometimes we get something that we cannot use. And so then what do? We need to understand that there's a difference between need and greed. Need is something that we need necessary. Greed is something that we want beyond the necessity. So when we get what we cannot use, we need to understand we should not be attached. And when we get it and we realize I don't need it, then we should not ask for it. But if we serve Krishna with whatever he has provided us, Srila Prabhupada says, then we will be happy. You see, then there will also be satisfaction. In Bhagavad Gita, we see austerity of the mind is satisfaction. Be satisfied with whatever we have. And such a devotee, when is using everything in the service of the Lord and is satisfied, that is the result of being fully Krishna conscious. Now, this verse is talking about Brahma wanting to do sacrifice. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport very clearly mentions, he says that in sacrifice, when the animals are sacrificed in that yagna, the idea is not to kill the animal, but to give that animal a new life by chanting the Vedic hymns. Now, for someone to be able to give a new life to the animal that is being sacrificed, one has to be an expert priest. Expert, not just a priest, an expert priest. And it is not possible to find such expert priests in Kali Yuga. So that is why animal sacrifice in Kali Yuga is forbidden. When Krishna came down more than 500 years ago as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave us the sacrifice for this age, for Kali Yuga, and that is Harinam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That is the sacrifice recommended for Kali Yuga. The scriptures tell us, Krite yadhyayato Vishnu, Tretayam yajato make, Dwapare paricharyan, Kalau tad hari kirtanat. So in Kali Yuga, only sacrifice of the holy name, only chanting of the holy name is practical. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada also talks about personalists and impersonalists. So who are impersonalists? They are the ones who do not believe in worshipping the Supreme Lord. That's why they are impersonalists. Whereas those who are personalists, they worship the Lord out of gratitude. They are grateful that they have the opportunity to hear Krishna Katha. They are grateful for the opportunity to associate with devotees, to have the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, access to this spiritual knowledge so that they can get benefit out of these scriptures. So the attitude of gratitude is very, very important, because unless we feel grateful for what we have, we won't be able to develop humility in ourselves at all. You see, need to be thankful for all that we have received, and all that has been possible because of mercy of Krishna. Now, the devotees of Krishna, they know everything belongs to the Lord. And they also understand nothing is different from Krishna. Everything belongs means everything is the property of the Supreme Lord. So we should not claim that, oh, this is my house, this is my family, this is my car, this is my bank balance. Everything belongs to the Lord. So we need to use everything in the service of Krishna. This attitude can help one to remain engaged in worshiping the Lord. Otherwise, we can, get our mind can get diverted. We can get distracted. Then we can, somehow or the other fall in the lap of Maya, which means get illusioned. I was listening to His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj 2 years ago, and when he was saying that when we see everything in relationship to Krishna, that is Krishna consciousness. Sometimes we wonder, everybody says be Krishna conscious, be Krishna conscious. What does it mean? That means we see everything in relation to Krishna. That means we are always conscious that everything belongs to Krishna. Nothing is separate from Him. And the pure devotees who have achieved perfection in their lives, they see Krishna everywhere. And they see Krishna in everything. Just like Srila Prabhupada. He could, when he was asked, can you see God? He said yes. He could see Krishna. That is purity. That is pure Krishna consciousness, which means one does not make any distinction. One is aware and conscious of the fact that everything belongs to the Lord, everything needs to be used in the service of the Lord, and sees the Lord everywhere, also in all living entities. That is pure Krishna consciousness. Now, Brahma, after he was born, he created 5 illusions in the beginning. So when I was reading this, I was like, wow, 5 illusions. And what are those? Tamishra, Andatamishra, Tamas, Moha, and Maha Moha. What is Tamishra? It's anger. Bhagavad Gita teaches us what causes anger. You see, when the senses come in contact with sense objects, there is attachment. Then one wants that object. And when that desire is not fulfilled, then one becomes angry. So anger is Tamishra. Andha Tamishra is considering death to be the ultimate end. That means there is no life after death. That's not true. That's not true. According to the Bhagavad Gita, there is reincarnation. So those who consider that, okay, after this life, nothing is there, then we can consider they have this illusion of Andhatamishra. And Andhatamishra happens due to ignorance, which is tamas. Tamas is nothing but not knowing anything about the spirit soul, who we really are, which means only thinking about the body and also thinking that after this life, the end. No. What is moha? Moha is bodily concept of life, being attached to the body, which is temporary, right? This body is there today, maybe not there tomorrow. After death, body is destroyed, right? So the moha illusion is that one is only thinking about the body. Now, what is Mahamoha? Mahamoha is being mad after material enjoyment, only thinking about how to satisfy the senses, how to enjoy the senses. That is Mahamoha. And not only just enjoy, but being mad after that sense enjoyment. Means there is so much attachment to the body, so much attachment to enjoying all the senses of this body. You see? But if we see everything in connection with Krishna, then we don't get entangled. Then we are free. Free from entanglement of this material energy. You see, the problem is we get entangled when we consider ourselves separate from Krishna, when we want to do everything separate from Krishna, which means Krishna is not the center of our lives. Krishna is not the center of all the activities that we perform. And in other words, we are trying to use Krishna's energy for personal sense enjoyment. You see, if you remember the purport that we read today, Srila Prabhupada's purport, towards the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, the impersonalist, being falsely puffed up, remains a non-devotee forever. That's very strong. Forever means forever. There is no chance for the impersonalist to really progress. Because from the very beginning, the impersonal thinks there is no God. There is no form to God, nothing at all. And this is because they are falsely puffed up. That's pride. Opposite of pride is humility. So what happens? They remain a non-devotee forever without being recognized by the Lord. By the Lord. So we have to understand that if we want to remain a devotee forever, we need to understand Krishna is a person. He is the supreme personality. He is a person. He has a form, which is Sat Chit Ananda, which is eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. That is his form, the spiritual body. So, if we want to be recognized by the Lord, if we want to remain a devotee forever, we need to make sure we are not falsely puffed up. Humility, very, very important. What is the definition of humility by Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita? He says one is not anxious to get the satisfaction of being honored by others, which means we are not looking, we're not searching for respect from others. That's humility. So the devotee is always seeing everything in relationship to the Lord. He doesn't want to try to enjoy anything. He does not want to either falsely renounce also. See, the false renunciation is also not good for spiritual lives. So just like, oh, because I cannot enjoy this, so I'm going to renounce it. No, that is false renunciation. Srila Prabhupada gives a nice example for this. He says the fox is standing, you can see there are a bunch of grapes there hanging, and they look really yummy, and is trying to jump and jump and jump and try to get those grapes. But when the fox is unable to get those grapes, he says, they are sour anyway. I don't need them. They are sour. No, we don't want that kind of consciousness. We don't need to give up the activity, but we just need to change our consciousness. We just use everything in the service of the Lord and have that consciousness all the time, not only sometime. So if we dovetail all our activities to Krishna, whatever activities we perform, like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yad karoshi yad ashnashi yad juhoshi tadashi yad. He says, anything you do, anything you give away, any charity you perform, any austerity you perform, you do it as an offering unto me. So then what will happen? We will not have to face any reactions. See? Then enjoyment will come automatically when we connect everything to the source. Who is the source? The Supreme Lord. He is a reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna is a reservoir of all pleasure. So when we connect with him, we become happy. And when we become happy, we become free from all anxieties. You see, we are very, very, very fortunate. We are very fortunate that we have access to these books written by Srila Prabhupada. The translations, the purports he's given us in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and so many other books that teach us what is the purpose of this human form of life. He's given us books, he has given us temples, devotees, prasadam, festivals, the acharyas, the parampara. What more do we want? We don't want anything more. This is sufficient. It's the whole package. The whole package is given to us, and guess what? It's free of charge. Anytime we go to buy something, we want something, we have to pay a price for it, right? We have, if I want to buy a computer, I have to pay for it. Want to buy an iPhone, I have to pay for it. I want to go on vacation, I have to pay for it, right? Nothing is free. So, but this whole process of Krishna consciousness is given to us by Srila Prabhupada for free. So what do? We take advantage of it. Unfortunately, most people think if it's free, it's not worthwhile. Oh, you're giving it for free? I'm sure it has no value at all. It doesn't mean that when we pay a price that there is value to it. This is the books of Srila Prabhupada is a treasure house. We have seen thousands and thousands of people benefit from just hearing from these books or reading these books, because these books teach us. They teach us. They are like an owner's manual for human beings that teaches us how to talk, how to walk, how to sit, how to eat, how to sleep, how much to sleep, everything. How to love God, how to purify the senses, the mind, the intelligence, everything. That's why it's called the whole package deal, complete package. All we need to do is pay a price. Now you will say, but just now you said it's free. So how come you have to pay a price? Well, the price is not money, but the price is a sincere desire to follow the process. Process is very simple. Just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Just chant. Just follow the four regulative principles, which are actually beneficial for us. What are the four rules and regulations to be followed? No meat eating, fish, eggs, chicken, onion, garlic, no intoxication, tea or coffee, no illicit sex, and no gambling. These are the four rules. And these are not man made. These rules are given in the scriptures. And they relate to the four spiritual pillars, just like the house stands on four pillars. Similarly, our spiritual life also stands on four pillars. And those four pillars are mercy, honesty, cleanliness, austerity. These are the four pillars. So if one is eating meat, fish, eggs, onion, garlic, then how can they be merciful? So if they eat meat, then the spiritual pillar of mercy is fallen down. If one is engaging in intoxication, tea or coffee, then if one is intoxicated, one cannot perform austerity. If one is engaging in gambling, then one cannot be honest, because gambling involves telling lies, no honesty. And if one is engaging in illicit sex, then one cannot be clean. So these four spiritual pillars are very, very essential if we want to build a spiritual house, if we want to build our spiritual lives, if we want to purify ourselves. So the scriptures tell us that please follow these four rules and regulations. Just like when we live in a city, we follow the rules of the city. We follow the traffic lights, we follow the traffic rules. Because if we don't, then we are punished. The same applies for the laws of the Supreme Lord. These are the laws. Four rules are the laws of the Lord we need to follow. And if we don't follow, then we have to pay a price for it, and that is punishment. And that if these four pillars are very weak in our lives, spiritual pillars, then it is very difficult for us to advance spiritually. So all this process entails is chanting the holy names, following the four regulative principles, eating only food that is offered to the Lord, Krishna Prasadam, reading these books, understanding the spiritual knowledge, so that we can somehow or the other make the best use of this human form of life. Excuse me. Human life is not meant for just eat, sleep, have babies, and no. Human life is a life of responsibility where we get the opportunity to think about what is the goal of life. Am I just going to live like animals, or am I going to live like a human being? And all that knowledge is there in the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. So, since this knowledge is coming down in strict disciplic succession, excuse me, strict parampara, the knowledge that was given by the Supreme Lord Krishna to Brahma, to Narada, to Vyasa, like that, it is coming down all the way to Srila Prabhupada. And talking about parampara, today is a very auspicious day for us. It's the appearance day of Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. A very auspicious day. This is the day when we can fast till noon and also pray. Pray to Srila Prabhupada and also to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, so that we can get the strength, the spiritual strength to strengthen our spiritual lives. Very, very important. Now, who is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? He was the son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Sri Yukta Bhagavati Mataji. And when he was born, he was given a name, Bimala Prasad Datta. He appeared on February 6th, 1874 at 3:30 p.m. And so when he appeared, the parents had called an astrologer. You know, in India, it's quite common. I don't know if it's common here in the US, but in India, it's very common that when the child is born, the astrologer looks at the chart, the date, the time, of birth. Then the astrologer can come up with a chart. And the astrologer was very surprised. And he said that all 32 bodily symptoms of Mahapurush are there in this child. And that means these are all the signs of a great personality. And not only that, this child will become world famous as a brilliant teacher. Unfortunately, there is a shortage of spiritual teachers in this world. There are very few who give spiritual knowledge. In schools, colleges, universities, we only get material knowledge. No one teaches us that you are not this body, you're the spirit soul. No one teaches us the purpose of human life. But here, a brilliant teacher is born. And this child was actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was the answer to the prayers of his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wanted a son who could assist him in reviving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. Who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? None other than Krishna himself, who came over 500 years ago to teach us Bhakti Yoga. And the parents, they noticed that when the child appeared, the umbilical cord it resembled like a sacred thread. You know, the thread that the Brahmins wear? The cord was around his neck like the sacred thread. And when he was only 6 months old, this child received the garland of Lord Jagannath at Rath Yatra. So all these signs, they confirm the divine nature of his appearance. And at the age of 7, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he memorized the entire Bhagavad Gita. What memory power. Entire Bhagavad Gita. In fact, he got the title, The Living Encyclopedia. That was the title that was given to him. And what was the purpose of his appearance? He dedicated his entire life in spreading Krishna consciousness, spreading devotional service, teaching how to worship Krishna. His whole life was dedicated in that. And at the age of 31, when he was 31 years old, he took a vow. And what was the vow? Of chanting 192 rounds every day. See, we have a concession. We have a discount given to us because it's Kali Yuga. We have short lives. We are quarrelsome, misguided, unlucky. So many not so good qualifications that we have in Kali Yuga. So we have a discount. All we need to do is just chant 16 rounds every day minimum. If you can chant more, well and good. But here, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he took a vow to chant 192 rounds every day. And he calculated that in 9 years, he would complete chanting 1 billion names. That was his vow. So we being so fortunate that we have access to the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, that we take full advantage of it and chant as much as possible every day. For those of us who have taken initiation, we have taken a vow to chant minimum 16 rounds every day. Excuse me. Sorry, not chant 16 minimum rounds every day, but chant minimum attentive 16 rounds every day. That way, we will be able to attain the goal of life, which is to become qualified to go back to the spiritual world after we give up this body. Now, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he established 64 Gaudiya Math temples in India. He also opened centers in Burma, England, and Germany. He was such a strong preacher, such a strong spiritual teacher that he was referred to as the Lion Guru. What a wonderful way to address him, the Lion Guru, who was not afraid at all to let people know the truth, to let people know Krishna, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was not fearful at all to let people know what is the purpose of human form of life. Don't waste it. And then on December 31st, 1936, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur disappeared. Srila Prabhupada called him as a Vaikuntha man. What is Vaikuntha? It's a spiritual world. Kuntha means anxiety. Vaikuntha means where there is no anxiety. So in the spiritual world, in Vaikuntha, there is no anxiety at all. And he was called as a Vaikuntha man. Srila Prabhupada also mentioned in one of his lectures that in Goloka Vrindavan, the spiritual world, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur serves the Lord as Nayana Mani Manjari. How beautiful. The gopis are serving and the manjaris also are serving the Supreme Lord Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. We can find actually Pushpa Samadhis of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur at Radhakund and also at Radha Damodar. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Today is that auspicious day of his appearance. So let us offer sincere prayers at his lotus feet to help us progress spiritually, to help us chant attentively, to help us follow the 4 rules and regulations very strictly, and to read Srila Prabhupada's books scrutinizingly every day. So the verse once again, the verse for today, when I was born from the abdominal lotus flower of the Lord or Mahavishnu, the great person, I had no ingredients for sacrificial performances except the bodily limbs of the great personality of Godhead. So I'll end here. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very, very much for a wonderful lecture this morning.
All glories to God.
And also, and letting us know it's the appearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, who for us, many of us